And she said, I think he had, I can't remember the exact number, but I think something between 5 and 7 demons that walked around with him to practice martial arts. What you think is simple karate, jiu-jitsu and stuff like that moved with him. So you see him break things, you think it's just natural power. It's not. He said he knew the day they left. He had to consciously renounce his abilities in martial arts when the spirits left him. Sometimes we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You want to be a Christian and be a master at maybe karate or jiu-jitsu or maybe ninjutsu, whatever it is you are practicing. All right? You want to be a master because it's fun. I mean, I like watching Chinese movies and stuff like that. I know it can be fun. You do things that will admire you, but some of those spirits are evil. Some of those spirits are evil. Corey Blake said he had to renounce all those abilities, and the spirits left him.
Hello and welcome. This is Kingdom-WORD Radio and the program is Ask Pastor Bankie. This is going to be an exciting episode, believe me. On Ask Pastor Bankie, we ask pastors salient questions that border on relationships, finances, doctrines, and of course, if there are any clarifications that you need concerning any of his messages or any of the books we have read. So, if you do have such questions, kindly send them to ask@pastor.ng. Ask@pastor.ng, and Pastor will provide the answers. Of course, you can follow us on all our socials, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at the KW Radio. At the KW Radio. You're welcome once again. My name is Hope, and we'll be back shortly. Welcome back. This is Kingdom-WORD Radio, and if you're just joining us, you're in time for Ask Pastor Bankie. Now, who is Pastor Bankie? Pastor Bankie, as we fondly call him, is Dr. Bankole Olushino, and he's the founder of Kingdom-WORD Ministries that operates from Enugu, Nigeria. He has over 1,500 messages, and he has over 25 books. He has scores of tracts and short sermons, all available on pastor.ng. And guess what? They're free to download. So kindly make use of those beautiful resources to help your Christian walk. If you're just joining us, you can join the conversation on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram at the KW Radio. And please send your questions to ask@pastor.ng. Pastor Bankie is in the house. Hello, sir.
Hello.
You're welcome, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Nice to be again today.
Yes, sir. It is a privilege, really, to have you again. And thank you for taking your time out.
Thank you.
So, Pastor, we'll just go right to the first question. Someone actually sent a mail, and permit me to quickly read it. Okay. Hello, Pastor. I'm a brother from Cameroon, and I have been tremendously blessed by your ministry since 2014. I'm a mathematics teacher, and I currently am doing a master's in data science because this is the field I have always wanted to excel in. I desire to work in structures where I can exercise these skills, some being international organizations. My question is, can this be a valid reason to move, or must it be ministerial? I think this has to do with the Japa thing.
No, because the person is not Nigerian. Said I'm coming from Cameroon, so
okay, so Japa is purely indigenous.
Japa is a Nigerian thing. So we're talking about immigration, which is very common with Africa and Asia. Yeah, so of course it's about immigration, which is usually done for greener pastures. So the brother is asking that does migration, must it always be ministerial? You understand? That can it be a valid reason to relocate from one place to another? Now, if I want to give a straightforward answer without explanation, a single word answer, I probably would just say yes. Except that, you have to explain these things, which is the reason why we're here. You have to explain these things in detail. Number one, I've never said, maybe they thought that I said that only ministry will make you move from one place to the other, because I know I usually give the example. When I see people can move from one place to the other, after all, Elton left somewhere in Great Britain and came to live and die in Nigeria. But you see, you have to understand, if a Christian understands that my whole life is a mission, it's not just about preachers. My whole life, the life of every believer is a mission. Okay? So it depends on how you see. Now, okay, when you talk about mission now, there is a gift, there is a blessing, and then there is a people. So a gift and blessing which God has placed in you is one, and there is a people, and of course a timing in which God expects you to apply it. Let me give an example. Many years ago, I had a discussion with a brother. He's a doctor. He was in my office. And the discussion went into one of my good friends who lives in the UK. So he wanted to show me something, because he knew my viewpoint about things like this. He now said that don't I think the fellow is in a better position than I am, because that fellow and I happen to work in the same field. That look at it, he has better facilities to work and all of that. I told him something. He has better facilities to work. On who? This is a medical subspecialty.
Okay.
I said, when he moved, did he take my patient with him? He drew back. I said, you are looking at it from just my own perspective. I said, but if you realize I'm sent to people, then you put that into perspective when you are working. All right? So it's not just about me. So it's difficult. Some of these things, they don't have a yes and no answer, really. If you just understand that my life is a mission, I'm serving God. Like the example I like to give is one of our brothers. He got a job in a bank. He was teaching in a secondary school. All right? So he came to Enugu. He had done all the paperwork, just go and resume for work. That's what was remaining. He was supposed to just report, pick up his the final letter, and then go out to they're not telling which branch, because it's a very big national bank, so that they're not telling which branch to go and report in the region. He came to the office. While he was waiting, I was in the office then. Then he picked the book, Don't Quit the Army. And he just read the back. And what did he hear from that book? That where I am right now is a place where God has placed me to do his work. That's what he heard. Do you know? That's how he abandoned that bank employment and went back to his secondary school to continue teaching. Now what he was doing was not just teaching actually there. He was mentoring young boys. Yeah. He was, helping them with training, which is beyond just teaching them the classwork. He was training them generally in life. He was preaching the gospel to them. Some of those boys had joined cults at a young age. They were renouncing cultism under his watch. He was even getting into trouble with some cults because of that. Yeah. So that was where God kept him. So, you see, he wasn't a preacher like we would think. So, he was just doing his teaching work, but he heard from a book, Don't Quit the Army. Anybody can read it on our website, all right? You can download it. He just heard from that book that, look, I'm in a particular place right now, and I cannot just quit because I got a better job. What do we call better? Better paying, better environment to work in, But what about the effectiveness of the assignment have been given? Sometimes you see something like maybe a mother is saying, I have these children that are giving me problems. I'm doing well in school, they are not, a lot of issues. But it doesn't cross that particular, and it's going from one teacher to another, one pastor to another to help with these children. All God is saying to her is that, okay, leave that job you are doing that takes you out of the house by 6:30 in the morning and you come back by 8 p.m. These children need a mother. But it doesn't cross some of our minds. We just think it's only about relocating from one place to another. Mm-hmm. I can leave my job because my children need their mother. I can reschedule my work as a man that's even providing for my family to make sure that I'm available to discipline the kids. People talk about to go and get a job, work, which I believe in. I'm not against it. Sometimes people are amazed at the kind of thing I tell you they can do, and there's a reason why. Not everybody has my level of faith, and I appreciate that. Okay, but you have a young family, your boys are just becoming teenagers and stuff like that, and you're going to take a job in Saudi, where as a father, they will not see you maybe for the next 6 months, maybe see you for another 1 week, then they see you again in 6 months. Who's going to be a father to those children at that critical moment in life? Now, that's why it's not just about do this, don't do this. You put things, you learn how to value things. Being there to tell my boys, tell my girls, do this, don't do that. This is the work of, this is the word of the Lord. This is how you're supposed to behave. At their critical formative periods, for me, it is more important than having enough money to buy a house. Do you get my point? So back to this person's question. If I need to travel somewhere else to go and improve my skill, because that is the real work I have to do, why not? If I feel like, because I know a minister that said, look, the assignment God gave him is not to people in this country. So he moved over to the UK to go and do his ministry. And when he got there, great doors opened for him to minister mostly in South America. Do you follow my point? Mm-hmm. Everybody has a different assignment in life. Just this the way UK people sent us missionaries those days. We may be the ones taking missionaries back there. So it's not everybody that goes abroad that's just looking for money. And sometimes some of those countries we are going to right now, my wife and I were analyzing this morning, it may not be a fantastic idea. Do you get my point? So it's possible to leave a comfortable place and go to somewhere else that's not so comfortable. So like I said at the beginning, the answer to that brother's question is a blank yes, but it really doesn't mean much. We've got to analyze what exactly you are doing at each point in time. For example, if I'm I'm into academics as an example. I have a first degree. I got a job in the university. If I really want to do well, I may have to go abroad for a while to go and learn, do my master's, my postgraduate, and work for a period to gain some skill. There was a time I traveled as a person. I went to the United States some years ago, just for a few weeks, all right, to go and do a particular course. I'll be honest with you, it was transforming for me in my specialty. In fact, after that, I started advocating for everybody in my subspecialty that please take 3 months, go abroad, go and work. It wasn't for money. Even if it's once you just go somewhere, just go and see what they do. Because I realized from that experience, I say, you won't know how far backward you are if you don't know where other people are. Yeah. And if you don't realize how far backward you are, you may not be able to, or you may not know, that's a better expression, you may not know to put the effort into improvement. Of course, things are much different now. Now, the internet is more available, we interact more, but I still believe that if you're in such a field, going for conferences and all of that, all right, look for sponsors, you travel for conferences, it's good. You have to enlighten yourself. You have to be enlightened. You have to open your eyes, like we say. You have to see beyond your own horizon. However, when you put all these things together, you will know exactly where you belong and where you don't belong. I hope I've answered that question for that brother. That was writing from Cameroon.
Yes, I really believe you have. It's really important that we realize that our lives are, they're not just it's streamlined to a particular thing. Mm-hmm. God expects us to look at the whole picture.
Yes.
Constantly. Okay, so there's another question here. Dear Pastor, I am afraid all the time. I am afraid of nightmares when I sleep. I am afraid of being mugged when I walk. I am afraid of dying in an accident when I travel. I am always afraid. I'm even afraid of starting a relationship. I am born again and speak in other tongues. Please, how can I be free?
First of all, that's a demonic problem.
Like the person is possessed.
The word possessed does not exist in the Bible, actually. If you use modern translations, go beyond English and go beyond King James English. So let's not start that now. Possessed, that's what creates problems with Christians and understanding demonic issues. What King James calls somebody possessed of the devil, it actually means afflicted in one way or another. Yes. So that's why I don't like to use the word possessed. The ones that really fit the word possessed, the Bible uses the word hath a demon.
Okay.
Yes, okay? So, let's just leave it like that. This person is afflicted. He's being oppressed. That's what we use a lot of times. But it's a demonic issue. It's not natural. Christians don't understand this sometimes. So the question is, how did I get into that situation? How did that? Because sometimes Christians, some people in some certain teachings will say that a Christian can never be depossessed. Now, it's because they misunderstand words.
Okay.
If you are going by the Bible use, King James Bible use of the word possessed, then a Christian can be, because what they said is afflicted one way or another. Alright? That's basically what it means. Alright? I even know the Greek word. Now, but if you say that can a Christian be totally taken over and be influenced by a demon, again, the answer is not a flat no. or it is absolutely not a flat no. Depends on what you yield yourself to. People give this impression that, you see, that's why when the Bible says that don't give room to the devil, there's a reason why. If it wasn't a dangerous thing, we wouldn't tell you don't give room. We can give room to the devil. Simon the sorcerer, after he gave his life to Christ, right? Peter told him because of something he did. And that's in the book of Acts chapter 8. He said, you are still in the gall of bitterness. He said, I see that you are in the gall of bitterness and in the bondage of iniquity. This was a man who had given his life to Christ. This was a man who had been baptized. You know, people don't realize something sometimes, that you may have, when you give your life to Christ, you have a fundamental change of direction. That's one. You haven't gone far, but your direction has changed.
Okay.
Then you have a fundamental change of affinity, what you love. All of this because of a fundamental change in your nature. But if you're married to a madman before, you get back home, you are still married physically. Do you follow what I'm saying here? Now, people don't know, if your temperament was bad, initially in the excitement of being born again, you may seem to change. But when the excitement dies down, that bad temperament will surface again. It doesn't mean you are not born again. It just means you have to take care of it. That's why we grow in grace. That's why Peter emphasized, you must grow in grace. Do you understand? Now, so, this person, most certainly, has a demonic issue. How the demons come in? Let's use this example here. Being in the gall of bitterness and bondage of iniquity. I think he came to set, well, there was a book, one woman that was deep into the occult became a Christian. Alright? The exact title escapes me now, so let me not cause confusion by maybe say something that is wrong. But I remember the story very well. After this girl gave her life to Christ, they had this strong demonic oppression. It won't let her go. The demons literally used to show physically. Well, it wasn't physical, but their influence was so strong, you could feel their presence. And the person was ministering to her, alright? Used to see them spiritually. Now, and they started doing something. Now, by the time I read the book, I've learned a lot about Christianity. So there was a confusion I had that, why would this amount of demon power still be in this girl's life? So that woman who was ministering kept on driving out the demons. I commanded to go out. Then she will see in the vision that the roof of where they are spiritually now is open. Then she will close the roof spiritually. Then she found that they are coming from under the door. Then she will close under the door spiritually. They drive out the demons. This was going on for, I think, days. Then, of course, they were both wearing out. And like I say, people don't realize, sometimes the demons enjoy that game. Because they are wearing you out. You are going to fall sick and end up in hospital if you are not careful. But she was wise. She went to go and pray. Lord, what is going on? Can't you just get rid of this spirit once and for all? Then the Holy Spirit showed her something. And she realized what was going on. That girl had given her life to Christ. That young woman. But she had not renounced all her powers of darkness. She hadn't. So she accosted her. Because they were both women. My sister, come. I had this revelation. God told me that you are still holding on to some of those powers you have. She wasn't trying to serve the devil with the power. Because you see, when you get to, if you listen to a man like Corey Blake. Corey Blake was his master in I think in karate, martial arts. And she said that I think he had, I can't remember the exact number, but I think something between 5 and 7 demons that walked around with him to practice martial arts. What you think is simple karate, jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. He said he had I think it's about 7, something between 5 and 7 demons that moved with him. So you see him break things, you think it's just natural power. It's not. He said he knew the day they left. He had to consciously renounce his abilities in martial arts when the spirits left him. Sometimes we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You want to be a Christian and be a master at maybe karate or jiu-jitsu or maybe ninjutsu, whatever it is you are practicing. Alright? You want to be a master. Because it's fun. I mean, I like watching Chinese movies and stuff like that. I know it can be fun. You do things people admire you. But some of those spirits are evil. Some of those spirits are evil. Corey Blake said he had to renounce all those abilities and the spirits left him. Now back to this woman's case. What happened to her was that she had been so deep in the occult. She knew how to command occultic powers. So when she renounced occultism and came into Christianity, she was afraid those her former enemies will come after her. Okay. So she held her powers for defense.
Okay.
That's why Jesus said, the prince of this world is coming, but he has nothing in me. Those ones came, they could come, those demons could come to this little woman because they had something.
Wow.
Sometimes this person says, I'm afraid. Demons are like this. One, they move in packs. Two, they open doors for each other. So you start mingling with one evil spirit, which normally enters through a door of the flesh, which is disobedience to the instructions of the Almighty. For example, if I say this, will be surprise some people. God may say, you want to get rid of those demons, go and liquidate your savings. And I say, wait, how does closing my savings account drive demons away? Because let me tell you the principle. One, this demon started with fear of tomorrow. Hey, what will happen? She was poor when she was young, the struggle in the family. So she's been building money up. Remember, this man was in the gall of bitterness and bondage of iniquity. I don't have time to talk about Simon the sorcerer now. The day I was preaching about it, the Holy Spirit helped me understand what was happening to Simon the sorcerer. A man only had a point to prove to his father, his relatives, the community. He went for cultic powers. Now he gave his life to Christ. He's down to ground zero. But something in him always wants to stand out. I've related with people like that. Anything they do, they want to be in front. They have to prove something to them. I may be small in body, but I'm big in power. He came to Christianity, did not have it. So that's what Peter meant when he said, you are still in the gall of bitterness. You are still angry with people who talked down on you when you were young, that you will amount to nothing. So that young woman, as an example, maybe that's her fear. So fear of tomorrow is the only problem she has. But that fear of tomorrow has now brought fear at night, nightmares, fear of crossing the road, fear of relationship. So God will sometimes just say, look, forget your fear of tomorrow. So she'll go to God, confess the fear of tomorrow. And God will say, bear fruit in keeping with repentance. You have invested money heavily in this and that. Yes. You have a big savings account. Now go and liquidate your investment, close your savings account, take all the money and share it out to the needy. Then come and follow me. See, when Jesus will give instructions, he didn't use a joke. Now, I've brought out something that Jesus told to a particular manner. Yeah. And I say, come and follow me. Now, this problem with Christians, they want to be free of demonic oppression, but not fully follow the Lord. That's why many people are not free. I think I've answered that person's question, both based on principle and by word of knowledge.
Wow. Thank you so very much, sir. This is awesome. I will take a quick break and welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Kingdom Word Radio and the program is Ask Pastor Bankie. Our pastor has been answering questions here and believe me, they're very insightful. And of course, you can join the conversation. Why don't you follow us on our socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at the KW Radio. At the KW Radio. So do send your questions to ask@pastor.ng. Okay, someone said that I have heard you preach that a son honors his father. My father sexually molested me and my brother for several years. He used to beat us with TV cords and told us that we will never amount to anything. How can I honor such a man? He destroyed my life and made me a bitter person. Can I ever honor such a man?
Well, again, the flat, straightforward answer is yes, but I didn't say it was easy. Alright? And when people will ask Jesus things like this, like there was a time, for Peter and co, the issue was on, can I put away my wife if necessary? And when Jesus said he couldn't do that, they turned to the younger ones, and I always say that humorously. I said, in that case, you that's not yet married, is better not to marry. And that's another time they said, how often should I forgive my brother? And he said 70 times 7. And I said, with man, this is not possible. With God, all things are possible. The point I'm making is that when God gives an instruction, when he gives a command, only with God is it possible? You can go and read the story of Corrie ten Boom. All right, I think I don't have details of her story now. They may not misrepresent the fact, but she was in the concentration camp with because she was not Jewish, but they were keeping Jewish people in their home, and then they were found out. Later on, she saw one of the guards that maltreated them when she was going around preaching forgiveness. She had to pray to God, and the guard stretched his hand to shake her, and she was looking like, shake who? Me? You don't think you know what you are doing. But she prayed, and her hand got up and shook the man.
By itself,
because God gave her grace. That's what Ezekiel called, the Spirit entered into me and set me on my feet. This is a very bad story this person has told. Just know that it's not unique. It's not strange to this world. This your experience is funny. What I'm like funny now is sadly, yes, as well. Sadly, it's common. Take a woman like
Joyce Meyer.
Yeah, Joyce Meyer. That's what her story is, and she was able to overcome it. So what am I saying? First of all, you have to accept that this is a commandment of God, but you cannot obey it by yourself. All right? This is a commandment of God. You cannot obey it by yourself, but first, just accept that it's God's commandment. It must be done. Now, God, you now have to help me do it. That's first. All right? Accepting it. And this is one thing about the commandments of God is once you start with defiance, explaining it away, He will never give you the ability to. But if you come to Him and say, yes, this is instruction, yes, I'm supposed to obey, you can add, but I don't have the power in myself. I don't even think it's a reasonable instruction. I don't even know why on earth God will ask me to do this kind of thing. God, I don't even think this is good. But start with, yes, it is a commandment of God and it has to be obeyed. Then you can mount your protest after. But the protest is with, in fact, the other day my wife was studying the book of Job, and she was like, why would Job say this to God? I said to her, you are interpreting it in the light of our custom today. But because I said you have to first understand how God said it. That none of this, Job did not blame God and did not sin against God. Because she was reading to me where Job said to God, you have hedged me in. You turned me to a target for your arrows. And you have beaten me morning and night. And my wife was looking like, Job, why would you say that to the Lord?
That's really bold.
That's really bold. I told her, I said, no. What he has done is faith. He came to God and said, there's nowhere else I am going to go. And I reminded her of her children when they were small. That if you beat a child, it starts following you. This child is crying, but following the person, that mother that flogged him is the one he's following and stretching the hand, and he will not be consoled until mommy finally calms down, puts out her hands, picks him up, so he wraps his hand around mommy's neck and then starts calming down, and then the cry starts subsiding. So that's what Job was doing. So when God gives commands, that's how we handle it. We first accept the command, even though we know we're not planning to obey it. It sounds funny. We first accept it. We know we're not planning to obey it. Why? We can't. But we accept it. You know, like I tell people that the commandments of God are not to be obeyed. They are meant to be believed.
I think you need to expatiate on that.
All right. I shock people all the time I say it. That the commandments of God are not to be obeyed. They are to be what?
Believed.
Believed. He said, but the Bible says, if you shall obey. The Bible didn't say if you shall obey. It says if you shall pay attention. The literal Hebrew, if you shall diligently hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. Literal Hebrew, which also diligently hearken. Hearken is to pay attention. It's Old English. But what it means, it says if you shall listen, listening, which is a Hebraism. These double words. That statement is if you shall pay close attention. Now, people say, is that not what obedience is? No, that is the root of obedience. That's the way I'll put it. It's the root of obedience. Paying close attention. You say, am I not supposed to obey? Listen, people say act on the word. I say, no, you can't act on the word. The word acts on you. Your job is to pay close attention to the word. It will act on you, and then you will obey it without you realizing it. Now, so if you are disobeying it, You are still guilty. Why? You did not pay close attention. Obedience is a sign of the amount of attention and acceptance you give to the word. So that's the problem. People like they will say, how can I do this? You can't. The answer is you can't. But at least you can pay attention to it. You can say, this is what God said we should do. How on earth did the man do that? But God, before we go to how we will do it, accept it. It's your instruction. Listen to it again and again. Say, forgive my father. But Lord, is your instruction. The moment, the more you pay attention like that, the more the ability creeps into you. Yes, the ability creeps into you. Ezekiel said it like this: the Spirit entered into me and set me on my feet when He spoke to me. That's the way it works. So when you pay attention to Him, what He's saying to you, the Spirit will enter you, set you on your feet in obedience. So we have to establish that first. The next thing I want to explain to the person is that forgiving doesn't mean becoming the best of friends. Forgiving doesn't mean becoming the favorite person to you on the earth. Love in practical terms is like honor. No, love and honor are practical terms. Yes, they are dispositions of the heart, but they manifest in practice. For example, God loved the world. What did He do? He gave His only begotten Son. Why? Because they were perishing, and He did not want them to perish. Do you get my point? So, what do I mean? God said, a man honors his father. He said, if I'm a father, where is my honor? Honor is something you can see. That's why He said, where is my honor? I need to see it. So what was He saying? The kind of sacrifices they brought was a sign of the honor. What am I trying to say? First, accept is God's commandment. 2, there are deeds in keeping with forgiveness. There are deeds in keeping with honor. So am I supposed to honor and forgive my father? First, forgiveness is first here. Honor is next. Honor has practical things. There's a young lady, one of our sisters, who I mentor and help her with counsel and all of that. She had this kind of situation. It's different anyway. It didn't have to do with molestation, but it had to do with abuse. Very funny kind. So one day, even as an old person, the father was still involved in verbal and emotional abuse. So after we talked, I said, you don't have to talk to him. She sound fun. I said, if you have to, block his number. I told her that. So he can't call you. I said, but every month, send him an allowance. Every month, send him an allowance. Christmas time, send him gifts. It's called honor. Every time he calls, he insults you, he curses you. At the point in time, I asked her, go and check whether he has a mental problem. In fact, one day she said, I finished preaching, and she called her sister and said, I think our father is going to die soon. And he said, why? He said, Pastor just finished preaching, and he made a statement. I can't remember what she said I said that day. The man died, I think, the following month.
Wow.
Oh, he did. Shortly after, he said she wasn't too shocked because she said there was something I said when I was preaching. It had to do with something like, if the person won't let you go free, God will free you by force. She wasn't wishing her father evil. She wasn't wishing him evil. She just, that day I just finished preaching, she picked the phone and called her sister. I think there's a small problem coming up. Why? I heard Pastor preach today and I think our dad is going. Now, what I'm trying to say, so I'm not saying you should wish your father evil, you don't know what God wants to do. Because if another sister came giving me the story, she had this kind of situation, again, a different set of circumstances, but led to a different set of circumstances that led to terrible, ill feelings towards her dad. The day she agreed to forgive him and begin to pray for him, next morning he was a changed man. Next morning. No, I don't mean like a week after. The next morning he was a changed man. She gave me the testimony a year after the man had been changed. He was a terrible alcoholic. The last 1 year, he had not taken a drop of alcohol. Wow. So what's the summary? Go ahead, forgive your father, honor him, and like I said, towards God is a positive confession of the word that, Lord, I've heard your word. Help me to do it. And towards your father, it's a practical thing about forgiveness, about honor. And I give an example. If you have some resources, send him a gift. And do that regularly. Doesn't mean it's going to be the best of you. You don't have to go and accost him. I want you to say you are sorry. He ain't going to say he's sorry. It's not necessary. Just do your part of it. He says a son honors the father. Just go ahead, honor him. Just go ahead, honor him, and leave the rest to God.
Go ahead, honor him. So we do our part and we leave the rest to God.
Most certainly.
Thank you so very much, Pastor. This has been a very rich time, and I'm sure that our listeners have really been blessed. So please follow us on our socials, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at the KW Radio. The KW Radio. And of course, feel free to send your questions to ask@pastor.ng. Ask@pastor.ng, and you get them answered by God's grace. Until next time, my name is Hope. Thank you very much, Pastor.
Thank you.
And goodbye.
Bye.